Imagine waking up in a world where ancient Rome never fell and stretched far beyond Europe, into lands no Roman ever dreamed of. What if the Roman Empire, with its legions, engineers, and emperors, discovered and colonized America? Would Latin be the main language in New York? Would there be aqueducts running through the Rockies? And how would native civilizations have survived or transformed under Rome's rule? Let's dive into this incredible alternate history and find out how different our world might be. In the 1st and 2nd centuries AD, Rome stood at the peak of its power. The empire ruled over vast territories, stretching from Britain to Egypt, and from Spain to the Persian Gulf. Rome was a marvel of administration, military discipline, engineering, and culture. Its legions built roads that crossed entire continents. Its architects designed monumental buildings that still stand today. Yet, despite their immense power, the Romans were people of the Mediterranean. Their naval technology was advanced for the time, but not designed for the long, treacherous voyage across the Atlantic Ocean. They lacked the precise navigation tools later used by explorers like Columbus, compasses, accurate maps of ocean currents, and knowledge of trade winds were all missing from Rome's technological arsenal. Still, Rome was inventive and adaptable. Let's imagine a twist of fate that pushes Rome to look westward. Suppose that in the early 2nd century, under Emperor Trajan or Hadrian, Roman explorers venture further into the Atlantic. Perhaps a Roman ship gets blown far off course during a trade expedition to Britain. Or maybe traders bring tales of distant lands seen far beyond the ocean horizon. Inspired by curiosity and Rome's ambition for glory and wealth, the emperor commissions a fleet specially designed for ocean travel. Roman engineers experiment with sturdier ships, reinforced hulls, and sails adapted for deep-sea navigation. By sheer determination and, maybe, a stroke of luck, a Roman fleet finally reaches the eastern shores of North America around the year 128. Imagine the shock of Roman legionaries setting foot on what we now call the American East Coast. Towering forests, vast rivers, rich wildlife, and most importantly people. Native American civilizations along the Atlantic seaboard would be among the first to meet these armored strangers. Tribes like the Iroquois, Powhatan, and others might have encountered Roman soldiers, diplomats, and traders. At first, these meetings could be cautious, but peaceful. The Romans were skilled diplomats as well as conquerors. Gifts, trade goods, and carefully staged negotiations might open doors. But misunderstandings, cultural differences, or simple ambition could easily spark conflicts. If Rome survived the initial challenges, they would begin building settlements. Roman engineers would quickly construct fortified camps called castra, which often grew into towns. They'd lay down straight roads connecting these outposts, dig aqueducts to supply fresh water, and build harbors for the arriving fleets. Over time, the settlements would transform into cities complete with forums, basilicas, temples, bathhouses, and even amphitheaters for gladiatorial games. Imagine gladiators fighting under wooden arenas set among the dense American forests, or grand public baths steaming in the cold northeastern winters. The greatest question is how Rome's arrival would affect indigenous cultures. In some places, Rome might form alliances with local leaders, integrating native elites into Roman governance. Tribes that cooperated might gain wealth, weapons, and prestige. Other regions could face brutal conquest if Rome saw strategic value in controlling lands or resources. The legions were relentless and disciplined. Resistance often ended in destruction, as many tribes across Europe learned during Rome's expansion. However, Rome was also pragmatic. They allowed local customs and religions to persist as long as taxes were paid and loyalty maintained. It's possible that many native traditions could survive alongside Roman practices, creating a unique hybrid culture. Imagine temples to Jupiter and Mars standing near sacred native sites, or Roman festivals blending with indigenous rituals. Economically, America offered Rome resources it had never seen. The vast forests could supply timber. Rivers were rich with fish and furs. And later, Rome might discover precious metals in the Appalachian Mountains, or further inland. New crops could enter Roman agriculture. Corn, beans, squash, and possibly tobacco might be cultivated on Roman farms back in Europe. The Columbian Exchange, which historically began in the 15th century, would happen over 1,000 years earlier. Trade routes would spring up between Rome and America. Ships loaded with American goods would sail back to ports like Ostia and Carthage. Roman merchants would establish trading posts along the American coast. This flow of wealth could significantly strengthen the empire's economy and delay its eventual decline. Culturally, America would become a melting pot under Roman influence. Latin would spread among indigenous communities, either through governance or trade. Local languages might borrow Roman words for new concepts like senate, citizen, or emperor. Roman art, architecture, and religion would blend with native traditions, producing a fascinating fusion of styles. Imagine mosaics depicting American wildlife, or native artisans carving Roman symbols into their own artistic traditions. Education might flourish, with Roman schools teaching rhetoric and philosophy to local elites. The works of Cicero, Virgil, and Ovid might be studied by future generations of American-born Romans. Rome's presence in America would alter the balance of power across the entire globe. Other indigenous civilizations, like the Mississippians or later the Aztecs and Maya, might be drawn into Rome's sphere. If Rome expanded further south, they could clash or cooperate with powerful civilizations like the Maya. Roman engineers might build roads through Central American jungles, linking distant cities under imperial control. Back in Europe, the flow of wealth and resources could keep Rome powerful for centuries. Perhaps the empire wouldn't fall in the 5th century at all. A stronger economy, expanded territory, and new alliances could stabilize Rome long enough to survive threats from Germanic tribes and internal corruption. Religion would also change dramatically. In our timeline, Christianity rose in the Roman Empire and ultimately became the dominant faith. But contact with America might delay or alter this process. Roman gods could remain powerful longer, spreading into America and blending with local spiritual beliefs. Alternatively, new American religious ideas might influence Roman thought in unexpected ways. If Christianity did spread to America under Roman rule, it would arrive over 1,000 years earlier than in our history. Missionaries might travel Roman roads to preach across the New World, leading to entirely different religious landscapes. By the year 500, we could see a Romanized American continent with large bustling cities, Roman law courts, Latin-speaking governors, and a society shaped by both Roman and indigenous traditions. The Americas might become a crucial part of the Roman economy and military power. Future emperors could be born in cities like Nova Roma perhaps, a Roman New York or Nova Carthago somewhere along the Gulf Coast. And think of the ripple effects. The Viking explorations of the 10th century might encounter Roman provinces instead of untouched native lands. Later European nations might never rise to global dominance if Rome maintained its grip on transatlantic trade and territories. So, what do you think? If the Roman Empire had colonized America, would our world today be more united under one ancient culture or more divided by countless conflicts and hybrid identities? Would Latin be the world's global language instead of English? Would Roman roads still crisscross the American plains? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video, because sometimes all it takes is one ship sailing west to change the destiny of the entire world.